Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Creating Exceptional Customer Experiences with SocialCRM conference call. I would now like to introduce your host for today's conference, Steve Gaynor. Please proceed.
Hi, folks, and thanks for joining the webcast today. My name is Steve Gaynor, and I'm the Community Coordinator for SocialBizUG.org. On behalf of our sponsors, Highland Solutions and SugarCRM, as well as SocialBizUG.org, I'd like to welcome everyone to this community webcast. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few quick logistics for the webcast. This webcast will be recorded, and I will post the webcast replay to the SocialBizUG.org website within 2 to 3 business days. You will have to be logged into your account to watch the replay, but the account and the replay are free, as is everything on our site. If you have questions throughout the presentation, we encourage you to submit them. Please use the webcast chat interface for your questions. To do this, you will see a tab with a bubble to the right of the presentation screen on your display. Click the chat bubble, select Q&A from the drop-down list, type your question, and press send. We will reserve time at the end of the webcast for the Q&A. And so, without further ado, I would like to introduce today's speakers. And this webcast is a little unique in that we have multiple speakers today. So please join me in welcoming, first up, Mr. Scott Tabak. Scott joined Highland Solutions in 2012 as Vice President of Business Development, where he is responsible for establishing new revenue generation opportunities through strategic partnership development and management. He is also charged with leading Highland's inbound marketing team, deriving value from the company's online presence. We also have Mr. Clint Oram. Clint helped found SugarCRM in 2004 with the goal of helping companies around the world turn customers into loyal fans. Clint was one of the original architects and developers of the Sugar application and is focused on building out the product, company, partners, and community in a variety of executive roles. And here's a name that is probably familiar to a lot of people, Mr. Chris Crummy. Chris is the Worldwide Executive Director of Sales for IBM Social Business and Exceptional Web Experience Solutions within IBM Software Group. With 21 years of collaboration experience, Chris is one of the most sought-after and popular speakers at IBM, and he has worldwide responsibility for all of the products that make up our customer solutions. And finally, last but certainly not least, Mr. Lawrence Leong. Lawrence is the Senior Director of Strategic Partner Marketing at SugarCRM. Lawrence focuses on joint go-to-market and business development for the SugarCRM Global Alliance with IBM. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Scott, Clint, Chris, and Lawrence with their presentation of Creating Exceptional Customer Experiences with SocialCRM. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Steve. Wow, I feel very important with that introduction. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We have a great lineup of speakers, as Steve indicated, and we've got some really great content to go through. So why don't we go ahead and get started. As Stephen said, my name is Scott Tabak, and I am the Vice President of Business Development for Highland Solutions, and I'll serve as the moderator of today's webinar. Highland provides consulting, development, and implementation services around web-based technologies such as CRM, e-commerce, and social business software. And to that end, we are a Platinum SugarCRM partner as well as an IBM business partner. So just to cover the agenda, it'll begin with my review of the new age of Customer 2.0, and the benefits of being customer-centric and creating a consistent client experience throughout your organization. Then Clint Oram will talk about putting the I in CRM, and really the I stands for the individual. So how do we develop a CRM that is for the end user? Followed by Chris Crummy, who will discuss a day in the life of a digital IBMer using SocialCRM and IBM's initiatives to meet customer needs in the social business space. Finally, Lawrence Leong will show us some great SugarCRM integrations for IBM Connections, Notes, and SmartCloud for social business. You'll want to hang around for that piece for sure. I'm going to set up the foundation of today's discussion by talking about how our business-to-business buyers' expectations are changing and give some context to why it is important for you to build systems and technologies around these changing behaviors of buyers. If we don't have buyers at the end of the day, how can we have a business? Customers have great expectations when working with us that have been influenced by experiences in our personal lives. Think of the great companies today that we all interact with on some occasions, such as Apple, Starbucks, Amazon, just to name a few. Why do these companies seem to thrive? Because they have great products and services that consistently surprise and delight us as customers. They go out of their way to make things streamlined and easy. So you as a customer, you know what you're going to get when you use an Apple device or order an item from Amazon.com. These same expectations are now bleeding into our business lives as well. Buyers in the B2B world are much more in tune with what great customer experience and service and intuitive products looks and feels like. For example, today's buyer in B2B wants instant responses on questions through many different channels, phones, chats, and even videos. Confirmations on delivery and order status. They want billing and invoicing that's not complicated yet informative. And in technology, if you're a technology provider, they want intuitive user interfaces that are easy to use. And lastly, they want to buy how they want to buy, not how you sell. All the while, our customers are becoming smarter about us and what we offer them. They are no longer at the mercy of a salesperson to educate them on their products and services. They've formed opinions about you before your salespeople even pick up the phone or send an email. We've entered the new era of buying long ago, and as the web continues to evolve, it has become a source for all of us, whether we're consumers or business buyers, to obtain information. In fact, we've even dubbed the new age B2B buyer as Customer 2.0. So this slide is an interesting statistic that was a study done by SugarCRM and Harris Interactive. As you see, consumers are 80% more likely to try new things based on other people's suggestions. Think about your own personal experiences. What's the first thing you do when you try a new restaurant or you're looking to buy a new car? You may cruise through Yelp and read reviews about restaurants or post a message on your Facebook asking your friends about certain cars and models, etc. It's just a natural thing that we do today. Well, it's just as natural to do these types of things in the business setting as it is in our personal lives as well. The best thing you can do is try to capture these discussions on your website. Take, for instance, IBM's own website. I did a research yesterday on IBM server reviews, and the top 5 links in Google all pointed to IBM's site where they provided an opportunity for users to rank and talk about their experiences with IBM servers. You bet buyers are looking to perhaps switch to IBM or reading these types of reviews and making their buying decisions based on some of these reviews. Another important statistic to consider that's on this slide is that 41% of consumers expect a reply within an hour or sooner when they connect with you on your brand online. If you don't do so already, you may want to consider giving your customers and those supporting your customers a means to communicate to one another quickly and in the moment by providing chat or self-help features on your website. There are several companies that deliver online customer service solutions such as Zendesk and a company called Kayako that can directly integrate into your CRM, just to name a few. This slide gives you an example of how IBM helps clients with reviews and to provide tools for instant communications on answering questions and providing support. Can you go back one? So sometimes just giving your customers the tools on where to find support is all you need to do. And as you see, the circled portion of this slide is where IBM makes it easy for me as a consumer to connect to the right people within IBM. So consider this as something that you could perhaps do in your own website to make it easier for clients to find the help they need. Again, some more statistics to throw out. So we know that consumers are more informed. Prior to speaking with a salesperson or interacting with your company directly, they've already read reviews, they've maybe talked to a friend in their network or perhaps reviewed a white paper or even a video, and like what we're doing today, they may have even watched a webinar. The information they are finding in their pre-sales research and experiences are helping them form their expectations of your brand. However, this concept of the information customer 2.0 does not only apply to our personal lives and our consumer transactions. According to business.com, who conducted this study, 55% of B2B respondents search for information on social media. And out of those 55, 70% of the buyer's journey is completed before it goes to your sales or customer service department. So think about that for a moment. The influence sales has on a discussion in the past, the sales organization has control of the information, the content and the timing of distribution. That dynamic has shifted. Consumers may, in some cases, be better educated on your products and services that you offer than your own sales team. Next slide, please. Thank you. Another statistic, this is an interesting study done by Savo. Savo is a sales enablement software that integrates with most CRMs that provides sellers the right content at the right time for their buyers. So based on our discussions of the Informed Customer 2.0, what does this mean for the 63% of companies that are laggards in providing critical sales information to their sales organization? How can your reps effectively communicate with the Informed Customer 2.0 if they don't have the materials that they need to educate or re-educate in some instances their prospects and customers? And with our data scattered throughout our organization and in multiple systems combined with the lack of collaboration between departments in our companies, how can your salespeople get in front of Customer 2.0? How can we help them be more proactive than reactive? This is where social business plays a significant role, and when you combine those technologies with CRM, you can start seeing how it can be a powerful system for your sales reps to be able to share information and to collaborate around customers and opportunities. And at the very end of today's presentation, Lawrence is going to give us a day in the life, if you will, of these systems in action. This is from an IBM SocialCRM study. According to an IBM SocialCRM study, more companies will adopt a SocialCRM approach as their programs mature and they make use of enabling technologies that integrate traditional customer data with data captured via social media. So now we're going to switch into what is this SocialCRM all about. And then we'll pass it over to hear from Clint and Chris on their uses of SocialCRM. So what is CRM and how can a SocialCRM help me improve the customer experience? As many of you may already be aware, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. CRM has many benefits, and it's not simply for sales anymore. For a sales organization, CRM provides a full view of a customer, who they are, what they buy, how your company has engaged with them. It's a central place for your team to become familiar and collaborate with your customers upon reviewing their information and their records. But CRM is no longer a tool just for sales. It's now being used for marketing, to segment customers and send promotional materials through campaigns such as emails. It also can be directly integrated into your website as a lead capture form, and ultimately allows marketing to personalize communications with the right clients at the right time. Customer service is also utilizing CRM as ways to keep the history of customer interactions pre- and post-sale. One of our own customers, which is an insurance company, uses CRM to enhance first call resolution so that every person who interacts with the customer knows the history of the case that is being worked on. Next slide, thanks. So now let's add social to CRM. SocialCRM aims to merge your internal customer information, so whether that's account profiles, past interactions, sales and marketing information, with external customer conversations on social media such as Twitter, LinkedIn, other posts, as well as external feeds from companies such as D&B and Hoover's. There are many benefits to integrating social feeds into your CRM. In the account record, you can see news feeds as they occur at your clients. New personnel joining the company, for instance, or perhaps an acquisition being made, or even a new product that the customer is launching. This provides a seller triggers or reasons to call upon your clients. You also have the ability to listen to social conversations of your customers and embed it directly into your CRM. Perhaps a client is providing buying signals in their status updates in Twitter or LinkedIn. Or maybe a client says something which gives you a conversation starter if you're a salesperson. You know, I saw your tweet the other day, and really start talking about those kinds of topics as you're engaging with your clients. So with that as the backdrop of today's discussion, now I'd like to switch the conversation to how to take this information that I've given you and to make it actionable. So I'm going to switch over to Clint, And Clint is the co-founder again and CTO of SugarCRM. And Clint, just to kick things off, I'd like to ask you a question or two. Given the changes in customer expectations that I've just talked about, what is your view on the role of CRM? And if you could comment on how SugarCRM meets these evolving customer needs.
Absolutely, Scott, and thank you for that introduction. Customer relationship management is a term that gets thrown around quite a bit. CRM is a strategy as much as it is a technology. It's a strategy that encompasses a customer-first approach to doing business. It's a CRM strategy that also needs to encompass all the different ways you communicate with your customers these days. And clearly over the last 10 years, business has moved to a digital world. Business has moved from brick and mortar to doing business online, over the phone, over the social channel, wherever your customer is, you need to be. And as you think about building a digital experience for your customer, next slide please, you need to be thinking about every aspect of those experiences, not just for your customer, but for every one of your audiences, for your employees, for your partners, for your suppliers, for your investors. You as a business leader, as the direct owner of your business or as a senior executive in your company, are thinking about how you build an experience that engages your customer and your employee into a meaningful dialogue that ultimately translates into a transaction. That's ultimately what customer relationship management is going to help you build inside your business. Next slide. As you think about building that set of experiences for an audience, for the customer, for the employee, you're focusing that around a set of processes. And those processes are going to span every aspect of your business, customer-centric processes to employee-centric processes. Next slide, please. That go on top of a set of applications. So you're thinking about building an experience, you're defining a set of processes, you are acquiring a set of applications to implement those processes on top of, next slide please, and you're deploying that on a set of infrastructure. That infrastructure spanning anywhere from the cloud to traditional on-premise hardware and software, depending on what works best for your business. Next slide please. What does SugarCRM do? We focus on building the buying, asking, selling, servicing processes for your customers, for your employees, for your business partners, pulling together those processes in such a way that you're able to deliver an exceptional experience for everybody involved. Okay, great high-level concepts. How do we go about doing that? What makes SugarCRM unique? Next slide. We do that by approaching this problem by focusing on the individual first. In the world of customer relationship management solutions, and there are literally hundreds of vendors out there in the marketplace today that are delivering some aspect of the customer relationship management solution, what we do and what we do best is focusing on building an application for the individual, for that person who has a problem, your customer, and connecting them with that person who has the answer, your employee. Next slide, please. We go about building a unique application focused on the individual, the customer, and your employee, your salesperson, your customer service agent, building a unique user experience, simple, easy to use, but powerful at the same time and extensible to match the needs of the largest of organizations. Customers of SugarCRM range anywhere from companies with employees of 50 employees up to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of employees. And what we do there is we design an application to help a seller sell, to help a customer service agent deliver extraordinary customer service, to help connect that person, that employee, with one of your customers. And our commitment to you is to deliver that with a simple, straightforward pricing scheme that allows you to deploy the Sugar application to every one of your employees, turning all of your employees into a customer expert. Next slide, please. Now, in the last several years here, the dialogue with the customer, that value exchange with the customer, has expanded across a whole series of new communication channels that go beyond traditional phone, in-person, email, and have extended it to incorporate social collaboration. And a fantastic and a really exciting aspect of this is not only being able to dialogue with your customers where they are and when they are, but also being able to interact with your coworkers in a very Easy to use, easy to collaborate, easy to share information, easy to find the right answer at the right time manner. And that's where IBM's social collaboration technology, everything spanning across notes to connections to SmartCloud for social business, allows you to collaborate quickly and easily with both your customers and your colleagues, sharing the information at the right time. And that's the most important point, to have the right information at your fingertips at the right time. It's a really simple equation here, really simple equation. Happy employees plus happy customers equals more business for you. And that's our commitment to you at SugarCRM, is to help you create more business. Scott, turn it back over to you.
Great introduction. Thank you, Clint. And now I'm going to switch gears over to Chris Crummy. Chris, Clint has talked about the role of CRM and how SugarCRM and IBM Collaboration Solutions can meet those needs. You're an IBM sales exec in IBM Collaboration Solutions, and you yourself are one of the many digital IBMers. Can you describe for us how digital IBMers like yourself are adopting social CRM?
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I mean, when we look at the bigger picture, we are absolutely, with the size of IBM, trying to leverage the wisdom of the crowds internally and leverage, SugarCRM to drive that sales process from the start all the way to the finish. So when I think of a good story, I saw a YouTube video of the BBC and the power of the wisdom of the crowds. And this gentleman walked around the BBC with a jar of jelly beans. And he asked every employee at the BBC how many jelly beans were in there. And he had as high as 50,000 and as low as 100. And he took the average and added them all up. And the average was 4,514. But the reality was 4,510. So the wisdom of the crowds was only 4 jelly beans off. And so if we think about how we can use a technology that allows us to connect to other IBMers to tap into their wisdom of the crowds, it dramatically changes the sales process and the sales game. So what I want to do for you now is walk through 3 parts of our strategy and how Sales Connect fits into, and Sales Connect is our internal name for SugarCRM, integrated into our IBM technologies, and is our global CRM at IBM. I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm going to talk about the Digital IBMer, the Sales Connect, and then kind of a quick day in the life with the 10 minutes that I have. So let's move to the first topic of being a Digital IBMer. And whether it's Sugar or social or other things, if it doesn't help me or help IBM with our major initiatives, then it's a waste of time. So there are a lot of things going on from a cultural perspective at IBM. There's a lot of things that are going on from a business process perspective that both Sugar and social and other things are helping to drive what we do. So, for example, 50% of all IBMers do not have an office, which means we are remote workers, which means we are able to collaborate and overcome time zones, overcome barriers, overcome org charts to find the experts to help us. And, we bring these types of ideas and capabilities into what we do. And being a digital IBMer is about being social, because the value that we bring is not what we know, but how much we share. So that's a completely different strategy than we've done in the past. If we look here on the screen about what the engagement model and the strategy that our CEO has around engagement, we look at the experience that we have with the customer or the client. It's tied directly to the employee engagement, which is tied directly to innovation inside of IBM. And one of the major tools that also enhances and amplifies other parts of our strategy is Sugar. And our CEO has named or has mentioned that basically IBM will be the preeminent social enterprise, and that this is an incredible way to drive innovation across IBM, and overcome the size. We've seen social sold into companies the size of 18 people all the way to the size of IBM and bigger. So it's not a size thing, but it does allow information to flow. And this is one of the key things when you're trying to deal with the sales cycle, the flowing of information and not being held up by, mailboxes and people on vacations and things of that nature really, really helps in that particular sales cycle. So this is part of our culture. It's part of the bigger support system as we go along. Now, when I talk about social, you can't think of it as a product or a thing that you throw down and say, go use it. Social is a living, breathing, organic situation in which you have to feed it. You've got to give it nutrients. You've got to give it projects. So one of the reasons why social is taking off and has been very successful at IBM is because we use things like SugarCRM, or what we call Sales Connect inside of IBM, as part of the nutrients that we feed this overall organic situation. So having our CEO say this is what we're doing, having projects like Sales Connect, having these types of things bear fruit, and being able to leverage other people's networks, being able to leverage expertise, finding the wisdom of the crowds, the ability to take information from one side of IBM in a global perspective and share it all the way to the other side in a matter of minutes. Engaged employees, engaged customers, attracting and maintaining talent. These are kind of the fruits that come from this organic tree, this organic living thing that we call social. So if you discuss social in the fabric of a feature or a function, then you're not talking about the bigger picture. You need to talk about it as the business outcomes that come from that. And so the three major projects on top of our cultural change would be, one is Sales Connect, two is the expertise locator, and this is a fundamental aspect because not only is it an interface, but it's a service, and we'll talk more about how Sales Connect takes advantage of that. And then the Customer Hub. And the Customer Hub, think of it as a super community on steroids that gives me the ability to speak holistically around our engagement, to speak in the language of the customer as we do this. So these are the three major initiatives that are all related to each other but have independent projects, if you will. So here's an example of the usage of the expertise locator. And again, we provide a mobile interface to that situation because we realize if we look at the success of Twitter, somewhere between 85 and 90% of all tweets are done through a mobile device. So if we're going to have this new way of working, this new social / CRM / way of working, then we need to put it in front of their faces, and you need to be able to walk out of a customer deal, get into the taxi, and go, okay, it's a green light. Now, who do I know in Japan that is an expert in cloud security? Boom. So you take out this expertise locator, and in this particular example, I have my favorites at the top there if you're looking at the left-hand side image. And I can see here that Gus has actually tagged me with a couple of tags. And that, again, this is living, breathing thing. So my expertise changes as people tag me, and as I share things, my expertise also changes. And so I typed in, I'm looking for a product manager, and boom, on the right-hand side is Luis Benitez. So if I actually click on his name and go to the next section, I can see who he is. And you'll notice that on the left-hand side image, I had a private note that I wrote about him so that I can go back and remember that and go from there. Now, I realize that he's actually in Puerto Rico. So he lives outside the continental United States, but he has a tremendous amount of influence within IBM, and that's because things like Sugar and Social and our platforms of collaboration allow him to overcome a geographical difference. And then I can see in the middle where his digital trail maps to my question, my expertise question. And I can see on the right-hand side his areas and his role, responsibilities, et cetera. And then if I go and take a look at who he reports to on the next slide, I can see his manager. I can see, who he recommends. Look all the way at the bottom. It says his recommended experts. What if Luis is on a vacation and I really need to find someone like him? Well, I can just go to his recommended experts, and in the middle screen I can thank him. I can share his contact data with someone else. I could save it to my phone. I could participate and engage him through the phone or through mobile or through messaging or email, or I could just post on his wall and engage him that way. Now, the reason I bring that up is because that is one level of the value of social, but it's something that we will be able to see how we take advantage of within the sales process. So ultimately, from a Sales Connect perspective, we are talking about an integrated, simple social sales process. We wanted it integrated with our systems. We wanted it integrated in what I do on a daily basis, and we wanted it so simple even a kid could use it, and not an older person, but even a kid could use it. And so we want to talk about, our internal marketing of saving time, sell more, and bring together the social, the mobile, the collaboration, and the analytics, because it all comes together when you're trying to get a 360-degree view of the sales opportunity. So, in order to make the adoption continue to go up, if you will, we talk specifically about the little things and integration into where my eyeballs are. And so, while I'm inside of my email client, you'll notice that I have a sidebar applications that allow me to integrate with Sales Connect. You'll notice that I have live text. So I see certain customer names that are inside of my email, and I can just, with one click of my notes client, go and open up that customer in Sales Connect directly from a conversation in the email. So, making it so simple that the sales rep does the right thing and can easily participate in this sales process. And so here's an example of a real opportunity, and I've kind of hidden some of the information by design, but this opportunity, as I opened up the opportunity, it auto-generated a list of experts that could help me kind of move that process from identification to progression to close, and offer me a starting point of engagement as we go forward. So that's a great example of integrating those functions and areas. Now, again, we do the little things correctly. So as I look on the left-hand side, and again, everything I'm showing you is real, and I'm trying to hide certain sensitive information, as you can see. But on the left-hand side, everywhere there's a name within the system, it shows me their social business card and their instant messaging awareness. So maybe Jonathan here, he's talking about a certain opportunity, and it's listed in the system here. I have a question for him. I could instant message him, or I could go post the question on his wall, or I could go to the communities he's involved with. I can just pivot off of Jonathan to something else and go from there. And then on the right-hand side, I can do those other areas where I can create tasks and schedule meetings, and this all integrates directly with the Notes client. Now, when we talk about social and we talk about what we see on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, in a lot of ways these are micro conversations, and that's why Twitter is called a microblog, right? So in ways they're micro conversations, and you glean a lot of information from these micro conversations. And so here's an example, and again, I've hidden customer data here, where there's a recent discussion going on the left-hand side, and then I can see and be updated on what my team is talking about, what other people are talking about in terms of what's going on. So I love this area because it's like, hey, boss, go get your own status update on what's going on with the customer. I don't want to be on any more conference calls. You can kind of help yourself as to what everyone is saying and doing around that particular customer. And if you look across the tabs, you'll see things like analytics and what they've done in the past and things of that nature to drive that. And again, if you take a little bit of a closer here, these are kind of the two projects that we were working on. Now, even though I'm inside of SugarCRM in this particular area, I'm actually technically integrated with Connections, our social platform at IBM, and it's all woven together so that I can't tell where one thing starts and the other one finishes by design. Because you want to weave the CRM and the social into the fabric of that user experience and help them move along that process. And obviously, as we said, mobile, huge support of the mobile capability to drive and make that process. You'd hate to say to a sales guy, oh yeah, you can't do anything until you get back to the office. Yeah, we know how that works. And then obviously, when I look at the social media on the outside, as I start to, end here, I use things like Hootsuite, and in this particular situation, it's got IBM Connections on the left, it's got Twitter in the middle, it's got LinkedIn on the right-hand side, and I can literally, so here's a LinkedIn announcement about something, whatever. I can just drag and drop that right into Sales Connect and have that be one of the notifications put into our system. So I do a lot of understanding of what my customer's saying, what's kind of going on through that situation. And with that, I'm going to pass it back.
Thank you, Chris. Wow, it looks like you guys are arming your organization with some very powerful tools to provide excellent customer service to your clients. So I'm going to shift gears now to Lawrence Leon. He'll be showing us some new SugarCRM integrations for IBM Connections, IBM Notes, and IBM SmartCloud for social business. So Lawrence, take it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. And Chris, great presentation. It's exciting to hear how IBM uses SugarCRM. And as I looked at Chris's picture of the tree, I couldn't help but think there's probably a storyline somewhere in there of sugar, feeding the tree of IBM, if you will. But in all seriousness, to get back to what Scott mentioned, I do want to, in the next few slides, give you a sense of SugarCRM's integrations into some of these IBM tools, Notes, Connections, and SmartCloud for social business. Chris gave you a great example of how that's used within IBM, and I'd now like to show you how you might use it within your own organization. And the best way to do this is to give kind of a day-in-the-life example. The example I picked here as an insurance example, but this could apply equally to other industries. Clint talked a lot about how SugarCRM focuses on the individual. So here I'm going to focus in on Anna, who's an individual insurance agent. As you can see by the statistics here, she's very busy, lots and lots of customers. She needs to make many interactions, whether those are calls or email or social, to make her targets. And so she really can't keep track of all these different interactions and customers all in her head. And the other part of this is she's also a Connections, Notes, and SmartCloud for social business customer, as I know many of you are. So let's go to the next slide, and we'll see how Anna starts her day. In this example, she's starting her day in IBM Connections. She's in her Connections window. She's chosen to use Connections kind of as her workspace. But you can see in the middle of the screen that there's some SugarCRM information that shows up in her Connections window. So let's go to the next slide and take a closer look at that. You'll see that Anna can see that she's got 5 new customer alerts that require her action. That's something that pops up immediately when she starts her day and tells her something specific that she can do. These alerts could have come from some campaign. It could have come from new leads generated, even out of something like this particular webinar. But the point is we're able to drive those directly to Anna's workstation and her desktop and surface them in the tool that she chooses to use, which in this case is IBM Connections. So let's look in a little bit more detail. If we look more closely at those alerts, we can see on the top here that Stephen Jensen is, in this story, is one of Anna's customers, but let's say for the sake of this scenario that his home value has increased 40%. He's lucky. But what that means for Anna, the insurance agent, is that there's a possible upsell opportunity for Stephen. He might need more insurance given that his house is now worth 40% more. So again, Anna can see that immediately in her Connections window. And if we go now to the next slide, we'll see what that looks like if she goes and looks in more detail in SugarCRM. to get ready to make a call on Stephen. So here is a SugarCRM window for Anna that shows the information about her customer, Stephen Jensen. And if we look at the screen here, there's a couple different sections. On the top left, you'll see a box that is kind of highlighted here. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead to that highlight. And this is what we call the context panel. This gives all of the context to Anna about her customer, Stephen Jensen. So on the left, you can see his current contact information, his phone numbers. In the middle, where it says customer since and current coverage, Anna can easily see what current insurance information and policies that Stephen holds. I'll talk about the piece on the right in a minute, but this gives all of the information kind of at a glance for Anna about Stephen and helps her set the context. If we go and look at a different part of the window now on the right, this is what we call in Sugar the intelligence panel. So in this case, we're able to bring in some analytics from outside sources. For this scenario, we brought in a graph from Zillow.com, which provides home values. You might be familiar with it. So it's a public source of information that shows home values, and sure enough, you can see kind of the spike in Stephen's home value. And on the bottom of this screen, where it's got those numbers, 62% and 3.7 touches to close and so forth, those are a set of metrics for Anna. Clint talked a lot about helping make the individual salesperson more productive. These are a set of metrics that help guide Anna and help make her more effective. Those metrics are telling her, hey, Anna, based on your historical average, it might be over the last year, your close rate, per day is 62%. The deals that you, Anna, have closed, on average, have required 3.7 touches. That's the number on the bottom right. And that's not some arbitrary made-up number that came down from management. That's an actual historical number that can help prep Anna so that she knows that she's probably going to have to make 3.7 or 4 interactions with Stephen to close the deal based on her actual historical average. We actually use IBM Cognos technology to do that. And now let's look at the last section of the screen, the bottom left, which is what we call the collaboration panel. So there's a couple of things you can see in this panel. This shows a history of all the interactions that have occurred with Stephen Jensen, who's Anna's customer. It can show that a letter might have been mailed to him as a result of this home value campaign and so forth. And one of the things that you can see kind of on the top there with the black button is Anna is also able to use collaboration with her colleagues. We have an integration to IBM Connections, and Chris talked a little bit about this, where Anna is able to go in and ask an internal community, in this case this would be a corporate marketing community, where Anna says, hey, she knows that Stephen is a lead out of this 40% home value campaign, but this may be the first customer she's dealt with in this situation. So Anna's got an opportunity to say, hey, does anyone know more about this home value campaign? Can you guide me on it? And that can go to a community of experts similar to what Chris talked about. And if we actually click ahead, then what we can see is that somebody can use Connections capabilities, using Connections file capabilities, to post to Anna and everybody else in that community, hey, here's the file, here's a call script file that's already been created, for that campaign. So that's a great example of how Connections can be plugged right into the Sugar window, again, giving Anna the information she needs when she needs it. So let's now go ahead to the last piece, and right kind of in the middle of the screen, you can see that there's a suggested coverage piece of the Sugar window for Anna. This is providing a real-time recommendation to Anna. It can come from a variety of sources. It can also come from some of IBM's marketing or analytics tools like Interact or SPSS. But in any case, it's providing Anna, here's a suggested additional policy that she should consider for Stephen. Here's some additional flood insurance, and here's the cost that it would incur for Steve per month. So again, it's giving her the information she needs as she's about to make a call on Stephen. So let's now, in our scenario, pretend that she's had the call, that it's gone well, Stephen's interested. And the last piece that I want to show you is Sugar has an integration to IBM Notes where as Anna's wrapping up that call, she can pull up IBM Notes, pull up Stephen's contact information that comes out of Sugar, and then send a follow-up email to Stephen. And she can even have call scripts or email templates already populated that say, you know, thank you, Stephen, for our conversation. Here's the additional information that we talked about, or the additional policy that we talked about. And she can send that off to Stephen. That makes her, you know, much more productive. It's easier for her than cutting and pasting, and Stephen sees a very responsive sales rep working with him. So that's an example of how that would work with Anna. A couple of other things that you can see on this screen in terms of integrations that are there with Sugar and Notes. There's an ability to sync contact entries between Notes and Sugar. So if she had updated, say, Stephen's contact information in Sugar, that can also get synchronized to Notes. And if we click ahead to the next screen, same idea with Calendar. So she can sync meeting invites between Sugar and IBM Notes. So let's just recap what we just saw. What I showed you is some screenshots that provide examples of the integrations that exist today between Sugar and Notes connections, and also SmartCloud for Social Business. And the way we describe those is those provide a complete social CRM solution. Anna was able to work in the tool of her choice, which was Connections, but Sugar information could be populated in her connection screen. We also saw that she was able to leverage the expertise of her colleagues through Connections communities, the same concept that Chris talked about. Anna was fully prepared for her call on Stephen because she had all of the information at the right time through Sugar, and then it was easy for her to immediately compose a follow-up email through Notes. And Clint talked about this early on in this presentation, where he described our philosophy as being, providing happy employees and happy customers. Anna's happy because she's more effective and efficient. Stephen's happy because he's getting good service, so that drives more business for Anna's insurance company. So that's the scenario that we just looked at, and I just wanted to show you one last slide here in terms of products. These are the integrations that we currently have for Sugar to IBM Collaboration Solutions. And there's some exciting news here where we have just updated 2 of these integrations with new version support and new features. So starting at the top of the page, we've got a connector for IBM Connections. We've had that in the market already, but we have a new version of that that provides support for the newest version of Sugar, which is Sugar version 7. We've also got a new Notes plugin. Again, we've had that in the market for some time, but this is a new version, and it's got a couple of important features to it. So the first thing is there's new support as well for the newest version of Sugar, which again is Sugar 7. It's also got support now for SmartCloud Notes. We know a lot of customers that have IBM Notes or Domino are moving to SmartCloud Notes or are looking to move. So this Notes plugin supports both kind of on-premise Notes as well as SmartCloud Notes. There's also significantly simplified installation and deployment. There's a lot of improvements in the way the tool is deployed, and significantly for some of you that have worked with this before, there's no longer a requirement to modify the mail template. You can still choose to modify the mail template, but that's no longer a requirement of the Notes plugin. And we know that's important for many organizations who simply don't want to modify the mail template. There's also a fair bit of flexibility in the user interface. The older version of the plugin only allowed you to surface certain fields from Notes into Sugar. Now all of that is metadata driven, so you can define and choose which fields you want to show as opposed to that being hard-coded. So we think those are all significant improvements for IBM Notes environments. And last but not least, let's just go back to that last slide and finish off one other thing. Last but not least, there is also a SugarCRM connector for SmartCloud for Social Business that has meetings and document integration to go along with the SmartCloud Notes capability that I just mentioned in the Notes plugin above. And then obviously beyond that, additional integrations can be done as custom integrations. Some of the things that Chris mentioned are additional custom integrations that have been done in the case of Sales Connect, but those are based on the standard integrations that are shown here, and then additional customization on top of that. So last thing that I want to mention is, you may be hearing this and saying, where can I hear more, or where can I see a demo? So one great opportunity to do that is SugarCon. That's coming up at the end of this month. That's SugarCRM's big customer conference. It's taking place in beautiful, sunny and warm San Francisco. And we will have many SugarCRM customers there and partners. Highland Solutions will be there as well, so you can talk more to Highland. You can also hear a number of presentations from IBM. If you loved Chris Crummey's short excerpt here, Chris actually has a full session on a day in the life of a Digital IBMer, so you'll be able to hear that. You'll also hear from architects and the overall VP of Sales Transformation for IBM, and they will describe how that whole sales transformation project happened, both at a business level and at a technical level. We also have a session from our product experts and developers on the new versions of the Notes and Connections plugins, and that will be a separate breakout session as well. So lots of good opportunities at SugarCon. There's a link there to register, so I encourage you to go take a look at that. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and turn it back over to Scott.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lawrence. There looks to be some exciting innovations and integrations between IBM technology and SugarCRM. We've got about 7 minutes left, and we're going to take a few questions from the audience and wrap it up. If we don't get to your question, don't worry. We'll make sure to post it on our blog in the community or email the answer to you directly. So the first question, this is the one that's going to be for Lawrence. I am using Notes on-premise, but moving to IBM SmartCloud Notes. Does the Sugar integration work for both?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know there's quite a bit of interest in SmartCloud Notes overall, and the answer is yes. The integration works both for Notes on-prem as well as SmartCloud Notes, and there's also the SmartCloud connector for meetings and files to go along with that as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Lawrence. And the next question is going to be directed to Clint. It's a broad question. How does CRM differ from Salesforce automation?
Yeah, definitely a broad question there. I'll answer that from two different directions. If you look at it purely from let's say an analyst perspective, Salesforce automation is a sub-segment of customer relationship management software category along with marketing automation, customer service automation, and e-commerce automation. But that's not the way I look at it. The way I look at it is CRM is a strategy. It's a customer-centric strategy. Salesforce automation is the tools that you bring to bear on one component of that CRM strategy, specifically how you align your Salesforce with your customers. So CRM is a strategy. Salesforce automation is a technology.
Great. Thank you for the excellent breakdown. I have a question for Chris next. The expertise locator that you described seems very interesting. Is that available for sale?
Yeah, so if we break the expertise locator down into its component parts, the first thing that IBM did was take its connections profiles out of the box and modified it so that we would expose more expertise, and then generated a mobile interface and deployed that. And so, yes, within IBM, we have customers who are very interested in taking that. And so, yes, we have an opportunity with our consulting teams to provide a custom solution for the customer because, you know, every back-end piece of data might have a different level of expertise associated with it. So it's not something where you could just turn it on and say, go. You know, so we actually had an old skills application that we actually pulled data from, but did not put enough of the algorithm on it to make it a high end. So it's definitely a custom piece of work if you are very serious about truly understanding the expertise that's within the company.
Great. Thank you, Chris. We have one last question. and I think I'll answer this one. How do I see a demo or get a trial of Sugar integrated into IBM Notes and Connections? Certainly, we're available to provide those demos, and we'd be happy to set that up for you. In fact, the last slide of today is really some context of how you get in touch with us and some questions that maybe you have on your own environment and when you should maybe perhaps think about engaging with our company. Again, we are an IBM and SugarCRM partner, and again, we're going to be active on the Social Biz user group website, on blogs and what have you, so feel free to go back to that resource and connect up with us there, or we'll have our contact information, I think, at the very last slide where you can personally contact us directly. Some of the services that we provide include, as I mentioned earlier, our custom development, cloud computing, systems integration, e-commerce, and, of course, CRM and social business platforms. So with that, I'd like to end the webinar today, and again, thank you all for your time and interest in providing an excellent client experience. So with that, I'll sign off and turn it over to Stephen.
And thank you very much. Listen, I just want to thank everyone. What a tremendous webcast. My thanks especially to Scott Tobeck, Clint Oram, Chris Crummy, and Lawrence Leong for a really good webcast. Now, as I said at the beginning, folks, I will have a recording of this along with the slide deck posted on socialbizug.org just as soon as I can get it edited and up on the site. I will do my best to have it up tomorrow. If not tomorrow, it'll be Monday at the latest, but I'm hoping for tomorrow. So that's it. So thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for being a member of our community. Please take care. Goodbye, everyone.